Hello and welcome back to episode 7 of the No Excuses podcast. My name is Anne and I live in Worcestershire in England. It's a dull day today, but I still look like I'm pale, even with makeup on and lipstick and, as the summer comes, I'm probably going to have to reassess where I record from because otherwise it's going to be... You might not be able to see me at all. Anyway, how have you been? What have you been doing? Have you been up to much? Anything you're allowed to do? I just thought I've just got to give the dog a couple of treats. I've just had a biscuit with my cup of coffee. Bertie. So he's just got a tiny bit of ginger nut biscuit. I know, you shouldn't give dogs biscuit. He doesn't have many unhealthy treats, to be fair. Last one. There's a good boy. All gone. All gone. Oh. He's just been to the vets. He's not been to the vets now for 2 years. Because last time they wanted to, they weren't prepared to do it outdoors, which they did this time. So Tom took him to the vets and he's had his jab. But because he didn't have a jab last year, he's going to catch up and have another jab a few weeks' time. But she's giving him a good look over. And, yeah, he's getting old. We've got a few concerns, but, keep an eye on him. And he was well behaved. He moaned a bit more. I think, what's happening? I thought all this sort of stuff was over. You can't probably remember going to the vets, to be honest. Anyway, coffee today. So yes, as I said, my name's Anne and I have I'm known as Sparnits on Ravelry and Instagram. I have a spaknitsandcrafts email, and all of which I will put down in the details below. Where to contact me, please do contact me any which way that suits you. If you've got a question or some comment or whatever. I've had a couple of dislikes on a couple of my videos. Fine, and I don't always think it's actually a personal thing. I think sometimes when YouTube comes up with recommendations at the side, and people click on it and they think, actually, this isn't what I'm after. It helps YouTube decide what to show you for recommendations. So that's what I've decided. So that seems logical to me. So I'm not taking any of it personal. And also, I've had no negative comments. And, you're all lovely. You're all lovely. What have I been doing? Well, I thought today we catch up on the knitting and then I'll leave the shawls till next time. I want to talk about construction, which is to sew or not to sew. So I'll talk about that in a bit because not everybody's going to agree with me. So that's fine. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Discussion and doing things differently to one another. So I'll let you know what I've been doing. First of all, what am I wearing? This is my this is my Wensleydale Longwool cardigan in the Semerwater colourway. I'll put all the links down below. What I've done, it's just a V-neck cardigan. It's I've done it in a broken rib. Oh, I've just seen there. I've missed a line. Ouch. How did I not see that when I was sewing? Oh, mistake, error. Right on the front, and I've not noticed it. I've only worn this, I think, probably about 5 or 6 times. It pills quite badly. In fact, I see bits of blue around the house, bits of fluff on the floor. But I think it'll settle down once I've worn it a few more times. It's a lovely lustre wool because it's a long wool, clues in the name, Anne. And it was a joy to knit up, to be honest. But I did have some trouble knitting it. That's nothing, I mean. Oh dear me and my knitting. You can't really say it's a journey. It's more like hairpin bends, I think. I have got I'll tell you about this cardigan before we get onto my whips. I've got the Japanese Knitting Stitch Bible. And by Hitomi Shida. Now this was available in Japanese for a long time, I think. But when it came out in English, it was immediately a big hit, and a lot of people have been using it. In fact, you know, a lot of designers say they credit that book and credit Hitomi Shida for some of the patterns that they're using in their designs. Now, I decided that I would choose a fairly simple design, and I would incorporate a design on the back of this and a design on each front, which was the same. You know, I didn't want 3 different designs. So I'm going to put a couple of pictures in. I can't remember which was which. I think the first one I'm going to put in is the back that I did. You can tell it didn't happen because I'm saying past tense. It was just a crisscross pattern. I quite like twisted stitch design. I like the way it stands out from the knitting and everything. So I did that, and then in a panel at the back. I didn't want to do anything too complicated because, you know, as you know, sat in a wheelchair, it doesn't get seen. But I wanted to use the book, and I thought this was a good excuse to have a go at it, knowing that I don't think this is the best yarn necessarily for crisp cables or standout twisted rib or anything, because, or twisted stitches, because it's a bit fluffy. Doesn't mean to say you can't do it, obviously, but it would fuzz it a little bit. Anyway, and then I did a different design on both the fronts. I sewed it up, and it didn't fit me. I sewed it up, right, I put the front bands on and everything. I don't know if I even put the buttons on. I don't think I put the buttons on. That saved me something, didn't it? And it was too tight. So without even considering what to do, well, I did. I just undid it straight away, because I knew if I left it, I probably wouldn't pick it up again. So I did it again. And I can't remember what order I did it in. I don't know what I've written in Ravelry. I meant to look that up. But anyway, the long and the short of it is that I did it again. The body was fine, the sleeves weren't. So I knitted the sleeves for the 3rd time. So I ended up knitting 6 sleeves instead of 2 for this cardigan. I think I had to make the sleeves. I think I went up a size. So I used one of these Patons family knits book, a bit like I showed you for the double knitting cardigan when I showed you last week. I've got the Aran version as well, and again I think it's discontinued, but I'll put the name of it in the description below, and which is why I was putting my own stitch patterns to it. Anyway, I did the sleeves a 2nd time, and again I sewed it all up, and they were, I think they were too big, and then I did them a 3rd time. So I just altered the decrease rate on them, really, and now they're fine. They fit me, and I'm happy with them, and, you know, I'm wearing it. It's lovely and warm. It's a bit heavier than some of my stuff because it's Aran weight, but they do DK as well. They do a nice range of colours. They're not ultra fashionable colours. They're, you know, having said that, you know, there's a couple that are a bang on trend in terms of, but they do some nice primary colours as well. And I'd recommend them. You know, the yarn came quite quickly. I think I bought it when they were having a sale in Christmas 2019. I think they had a bit of a discount. I need 10% or something. And I've got a little bit left over, so I'm happy, and I should knit a hat out of it, really. Yeah, so this is my Wensleydale Longwool cardigan, and I will put some other photographs in of it as well, including the patterns I didn't knit. And really, if I'm really honest, and I like to be, this is typical of what I knit. You know, start, stop, can't decide, won't make a decision. You know, yes, I'm an experienced knitter. No, I never learn. Anyway, you can't really see my eyes, can you, with these glasses? let's talk about my whips. I need to look at my notes because I always forget something. Okay, the city limits that I did, that is next to me, I won't pick it up because it's got the Japanese stitch Bible on top of it. Everything's going to go bang. But I've rescued from those magic knot balls, some yarn to do the neck. Now this won't be enough yarn to do the neck, but one kind lady in the comments said, why don't you start off, pick up the stitches, do the darker colour, and then fade out to the lighter colour on the neckband, because we're only talking about a few rows, and I'll probably just do a rolled neck and cast off with a stretchy cast off, so it sits forward, you know, it rolls forward, a little bit of stocking stitch there. So I've got a little bit of the marmalade and a little bit of it's not Stoke the Forge because that's the darker one. Anyway, rusty ferret yarn that I used in the top of the jumper. So that will be fixed next time. I'm promising you, my city limits will be fixed. Speaking of which, the one I wore yesterday is actually, can you see it in the reflection? It's on the radiator at the moment because it's been hanging on the line for a few hours. I actually washed it with my socks today in the washing machine on the wool wash because I might have spilt some stuff down me last night when I was trying to eat. I'm terrible for that, you know. Perhaps my mouth's too small. No, I'm just, you know, I'm all right in a restaurant. You can take me out. I'm not a disgrace. I just dropped more than I should down there. So that's the city limits, and that will be finished next time. I won't be washing it. I should be wearing it next winter. Unless we have another cold snap, in which case I might wear it on the podcast. Dun, dun. Those of you who've seen my snapshot on Instagram will know that this has been a bit of a start-stop as well. The last time I showed you, I think I was getting up the back. Well, you know, this is as far as I've got, which is a lie, because I've already knitted the back once and then I've undone it again. Isn't it gorgeous? I really like it. Is it that colour? Yeah, that's not bad representation, actually. That's not bad at all. This is just a classic cardigan. I'm going to do a lace pattern on the front, taken from the Patons Family Knits book in DK, which is discontinued, and this colour is called Swamp Monster, and it's a BFL Dk by Libby at Needle and Thread. Lovely yarn, really nice. I knitted it up. I started putting the lace rib on the back, and then a couple of people had said to me, just do the fronts like you said, Anne. And I thought, I'm going to go and do the thing and see what it's like. And then I decided that the lace rib pattern that I'd chosen was too heavy for the back, really, and I was just going to do stocking stitch. So that's my first undo, and I undid it back down. I think I started again because I'd done some bit of half twisted rib, and I took that out. And then I started knitting it again. I can't remember what happened, but I decided it was too small. So I went up, I decided I wanted to make the most of it by doing it on a loose gauge, because with the love note, I know this is DK, but that's more a sport weight with the love note. With the love note, it was only came to less than 300 grams for jumper for me, and I thought, well, knitting on a bigger needle, you know, might be a better thing. So without doing a swatch, I know, without doing a swatch and without having any thought to maths or anything like that, I cast on again, and I did the rib in a 4mm, which is what the standard, really, I think, for double knitting would normally be a 4mm. And all the patterns I've knitted over the years, that would give you your most even, you know, the most standard tension, if you like, the most often used, shall we say. And then so I did 4mm for the, and I went up to 5.5 for the main body. And it knitted up with lovely drape. Felt really, really nice. But when I started doing the raglans, and I thought I was doing all right with yarn usage, because I've got 500 grams, which will probably be all right, because I only want a short sleeved cardi anyway. And the raglans just went on forever. Honestly, they were so long and I was getting really, really nervous about it. And I thought, shall I plod on and then see what it's like when it's off the needles? Because when it's on a cable, you can't tell. And I was measuring it. I was thinking, it's not that far out. Cast off. And I think the raglan was like, you know, something ridiculous, like 18 inches long. And I was saying to Penny, and I will tell you about Penny actually. I was saying to Penny that I didn't take any notice that the rogue would change so much having a bigger needle, and it looked ridiculous, and it was far too big. It was about 4 inches too wide compared to what I needed, and yeah, the raglan was it was ridiculous, but the fabric felt nice. I could take some of the, you know, take the rough with the smooth. I like the feel of the fabric. So now I've gone back down to, I've cast on again. I immediately took it out again. So this, I think, is the 4th or the 5th iteration of my cardigan, and it's staying this time. So I've done a 1x1 rib in the second largest size, second to largest size, because the largest size did look a bit too big, even though in theory it shouldn't be. But I'm doing it on a slightly bigger needle. So instead of 3.25 for the rib, I'm doing the 3.75. Gives it a bit more flexibility. I've done a German twisted cast on, and then I've done 1 row of knit on the wrong side at the end of my, you can just about see it there, on the end of my rib before I get onto stocking stitch. And the stocking stitch is a 4.5 mil. I find the cheer goos, and I should do a review of what my favourite needles are actually. It's another subject for a chat one day, isn't it? I find it really hard to see the size of them on the cheer goos as opposed to the higher which is the needle I normally use. It's the one I've got most of as well. So yeah, I'm knitting on that, and I will be finished the back, and I shall be went on to the fronts hopefully by the next time I speak to you. So don't ever take any advice from me about knitting, about what size needles and what size jumper should I knit or anything, because I'm useless. I've got all the time in the world, it doesn't really matter. And I think it's just typical of my attitude to life is, you know, suck it and see, let's get on with it, let's have a go. You know, what have I got to lose? Oh, a few hours. And, you know, it doesn't matter to me. I don't beat myself up about it. If anything, it makes me smile that after all these years, I'm still making fundamental mistakes. Okay, so those are my whips. No finishes. Well, I might have had, I would have finished the jumper maybe a couple of side, you know, the fronts by now, and my cardigan, but, you know, I wouldn't have finished the whole cardigan anyway. Right, so let's have a chat about construction, shall we? Because it's an interesting thing. I'll tell you the story, such as it is, and I'll try not to waffle too much, because I could go on for ages if you let me. Being the age that I am and where I live, i.e. the UK, my main source of knitting patterns would be the local yarn shop or the things like the Women's Weekly, occasional, you know, patterns in the magazines that you occasionally like. Some of them were a bit old-fashioned for me, but, you know, the odd one would be nice, like a classic lacy cardigan type of thing. And they were all constructed flat, and by flat or seamed means you knit the back, you knit the fronts, sleeves all separately, and if it's a cardigan, you seam them and you do the front bands, which I don't like doing, to be honest, but that's how I'd been taught. I didn't know anything different. Now I went and had a look on Ravelry, And I've been on there since 2011, so 10 years. So I was well into my, 30 odd years of knitting. And I kept seeing this thing top down, you know, as I was getting to use the database. And it is a really, really good database. You know, it can do so much for you. It can give you so much information back if you put the stuff in or you know where to look. And I really don't mind talking a bit more in depth about Ravelry another time, and just showing you some of the things I do on there that I find useful for me. Because I like a bit of record keeping. I was an administrator for 30 years, so I like to keep records. Anyway, having said that, I'm useless at notes on Ravelry, but I do record my projects. Anyway, what's this top down, you see? What is it? And anyway, I was picking up this vibe about hating to do purl stitches, and I was like, why? Why, you know? And I didn't really know much about continental knitting style either. And if you put all this into the mix, you see, you get something that is more common in some countries than others. And I'm thinking about the States now, because that's where Ravelry is based. And obviously, there's more people over there that knit, because there's just more people over there. And I'll tell you honestly, when I first read it top down and people don't like purling, I thought, how lazy. But I didn't really understand what the methods were behind it, really. I just thought, oh, that's such an easy way to do things. Why would you? But, you know, I was inquisitive about it. I wanted to know a bit more because I like trying new things if they're not going to be too difficult. So I decided that I was going to try top down, and there were a couple of patterns that are free on Ravelry. I thought, what have I got to lose? You know, I've got all this yarn, and I didn't have hardly any yarn compared to what I've got now. I thought I'd have a go at it. Because I understood, you know, that people don't like sewing things up, and I understand that. I still don't understand about the purling thing, but my understanding about if you knit continental is it can be a bit more fiddly than if you're an English flicker like I am. Am I a flicker? Yeah, I think so. So I decided to knit the now let me have a look. It's this is in March 2016, so it took me 5 years before I actually did anything. And I tackled the February Lady Sweater, now by Pamela Wynne. This is one of the most used patterns on Ravelry. It has got 13.8 thousand projects on there for this one cardigan. Top down cardigan, bit empire line, the sleeves and the edge of the last part of the sleeves and under the bust are in lace. Well, that messed with my head as well, because I kept thinking the lace is going to be upside down. You know what I mean? It's because I hadn't done it before. Anyway, I made the cardigan and I've put some notes on Ravelry at the time, which I'm not going to change. And what I've said is that I enjoyed the process, although it got a bit fiddly for me. It was a lot of weight on my hands. And I don't have a lap. So if I'm doing top down, I have to sit to a table, so that the bulk of the knitting can sit on the table, so I can rest it there, you know. Because as large as my bust is, I cannot keep a full jumper on there, especially if you're doing a sleeve in the round. Anyway, apparently I've put the top, the body of the jumper, of the cardigan, and the sleeves were far too big for me, and I'd kept it about a year, and then I wasn't wearing it because it was too big, and I'd bought some gorgeous ceramic buttons to put on it, which I will put a photograph of. Yeah, and they went so well with the yarn, which is a Rown Felted Tweed, which I'll show you in a minute, because I then knitted it up again. Yeah, it was just, you know, I wanted to succeed and I didn't, and it put me off a little bit. And then I tried the Really Fits top-down cardigan for all seasons with some Rowan summer tweed, which is quite hard on the hands. And that didn't look good either. And even though I finished the article, I then undid it and I was going to reuse the yarn, but I've since given it to the charity shop because I've knit that up 3 times and I couldn't get on with it, even though I really like the colour. So that got taken out as well because, again, it ended up too big in the body. And it's a weird thing because I agree that the big advantage about doing things top down is that you can try things on. But when you've got my sort of mindset that I'm used to doing things in pieces, and I can tell, well, I lie, don't I, obviously, because I can't tell, but I can tell roughly whether things are going to fit me or not, or if they're the right shape. Despite what I was telling you earlier about re-knitting cardigans left, right and centre, that I preferred, I was a bit worried about doing more top-down stuff, really. It bothered me that I was not just wasting time, that isn't the important thing. I couldn't get anything to fit me properly, despite, I don't want to be buying patterns, then have to do a load of maths myself. And to be fair, to be honest, I've never had to do that before, and I could do it. I'm not bad at maths. Well, if I've got a piece of paper and a calculator, I'm useless at doing anything in my head. Then, I wanted to be spoon-fed, basically. So I gave up on top down for a while, but since then I've done several jumpers that are top down. I don't think, have I done a cardigan top down? I don't think I have. No, I think I've only done bottom up, even if they've been knitted in one piece. I think I've only done bottom up cardigans. I'll have to have a look at that. I can't think of one offhand that's top down. But I've done several jumpers. I've done the sold dot now, which needs lengthening, and I still haven't got round to. So I've had it a year and I've not done anything with it yet. I've done the V-neck boxy. I've done the Sipala, and there's probably others I've done. And you're shouting at me, the one you had on the other day. Oh, the City Limits, 3 of them, And I'm getting used to doing top down, and I don't mind it at all. I don't like the weight of everything on my needles. I'm a big girl, and I have to knit a big size, and it can hurt, especially when you're on the sleeves and you're going round and round in circles and having to shift the whole thing round. So it slows me down in that respect. And the other thing I really don't like about it is knitting in the round. It's boring for me. Now, if it was knitting around with a bit of lace, that would be fine, or cable, that would be fine, or colour work, and that's probably why I've gone for colour work, and I've been successful with them. I don't think for a minute there's anything wrong with the February lady sweater. I probably just chose the wrong sides for me, because I didn't know. I erred on the side of caution, probably did something a bit bigger than I should have done. But it didn't make me happy enough. I didn't like it enough to want to knit it again in a smaller size, if you know what I mean. So I'm learning, and I have full respect, a lot of the patterns are top down. It doesn't worry me anymore. It doesn't scare me off. I'm quite happy. If that's what I want to knit, I would do it. But I prefer to knit in pieces. So, let me show you what I did. This is the yarn that I used. I'm going to watch I don't dip coffee, which is getting cold, in it. This is the Madras colourway by Rowan. It's their Felted Tweed Aran. I don't know if they do that anymore. And I don't know if you can see, but you get a sleeve. It's got tiny flecks of blue in it. And so when I bought the buttons, I made sure they had a bit of blue in them, because then it took a bit of the colour out and things, and I thought they looked really nice. So this, I love this. This is Aran Rown Felted Tweed, but it's a DK pattern. And if you follow Marie Wallen, who's done yeah, the Shetland book, and she does quite a lot of colour work, and she tends to use Rown Felted Tweed, the DK, and she knits that up as a 4-ply. So it's a very versatile yarn, and this is lovely. This is the Dory cardigan it's got a little bit of a pattern on the top, just on the top of the yoke, just to there. The Dory cardigan by Amy Christophers, and it's a free pattern on Ravelry. And I've put these little bluey green buttons on there, because the February lady sweater only had 3 or 4 at the top because it was open at the bottom. This obviously is a full button down cardigan. I needed more buttons, and I didn't want the heavy ceramic on there. I don't think I had enough of the same sort either. So this is knitting up really well. I wear this fairly regular basis during the winter normally. I haven't this year because of being in lockdown. And it's wearing really well. It pills a little bit, but because it's been knitted at a slightly tighter gauge, it's lovely. You know, it's lovely warm. And it's pieced. So I'm going to show you the seams. That's you can just about see. Do you see the line down there? I might put some photographs in, but can you see where the side seam is? Just about see it there. You can see it every now and again, actually. You can see it there. And then it disappears. You probably, because I'm pulling on it, you see. But a lot of the time, you can't see it. And at about the same time that I was trying to do top down, I discovered mattress stitching. Now you can see it there. But honestly, I mean, it is fairly not invisible, but it's fairly well hidden, isn't it? And you can see it then. I mean, on that side as well. Look at that. You see the seam? Just about, maybe. You can see it if I pull it apart. And that's super, I think. You know, mattress stitching. Now, on the underside, I'll show you my sewing on the underside. Oh, it is neat. I don't think I do it this neat anymore. There we go. There's a little seam. And actually, that would look quite nice on the outside as well, wouldn't it? If you're fairly even doing the mattress stitch, that would look fairly nice on the outside as a feature down the front of a jumper or something. So that's mattress seaming, and that's the Dory cardigan. I'm going to put that to one side and show you another example. This is a jumper that I think I sewed up. I don't know if it's mattress seamed, but this is pieced again. This is done in Drops Lima, which I think is gorgeous yarn, and I keep meaning it's a DK weight, I think, and that's got a pretty pattern on the front. Do you like that? Cabling and lace type of combo, really pretty. It's a rust colour. It looks a bit redder on the screen, and again, we show you the. Oh yeah, I must have known how to do mattress stitch. And again, you know, you've got a seam there that is fairly well hidden, I'd say. You can't say it's invisible because these things have been worn, and although as you get up to the underarm, it's not too bad at all. It's just here. Not too bad at all, is it? Sorry about the reflection on mine. You know, keep looking at the bottom of it. Give yourself a crick in the neck. So, for me, the setting sleeves, not too badly, you know. And again, I'll show you the inside of the seam. She says chucking everything about. That's the seam, little, not as quite as neat as the other one, but still not too bad. Yeah, this has got a little bit of alpaca in it, so you get guard hairs in this, but this is very warm. I'd recommend it. It seems to have felted slightly, I think, but very, very nice. So, I prefer to knit because of the portability and because it's it's less work on my hands. You know, I prefer to knit flat. I don't mind the sewing. And if sewing's something that puts you off, then I can understand why you don't want to do it. And I think that's, you know, you have to do what suits you, don't you? But one of the big things for me about knitting flat is the structure that it gives you. Because I have to be helped now getting dressed, and you know, to undress myself, I get my stick and shove it through, you know, shove it over me, shove the jumper off my arm, if you like, with my stick. I can't, you know, that's in more recent years. I used to be able to undress myself in a bit more finesse and dress myself. And I need that structure really in my clothes, whereas other people may not need that. And I think it helps to keep my clothes longer, because as you know, I already put holes in the elbows and stuff. So for me, having a more structured garment, as in a seamed garment, I think gives it a longer life. But you know, it's horses for courses. I would do either, depending on what the pattern says. But if you had a choice, then I would knit it, unless I was using lots of different colours, in which case going round and round and round would be easier, you know, helical knitting and things. But I'd prefer to knit flat most of the time, and it's it can be difficult to find the patterns, you know. But what do you think? I mean, what makes you knit to the construction method, or is it just what you've learned over the years? Is it something that you want to try doing something different? Do you want to have a go at doing some seaming? No, you're all shouting at me. Leave me alone. I don't want to pick up a needle. What would I do that for? I've got neater over the years, and I just think that's practice, because I pin things more than I used to. And, you know, I can be a devil at easing things in. But I will undo it if I don't like it, and I'll do it again. You know, if it doesn't look right, then I will do it again. But yeah, it doesn't take me too long. And I'm going to be honest here in the fact I think, and because I can't really do an exact like-to-like comparison, I think by the time I've knitted it in pieces and seamed it, it's probably a bit quicker for me than all the fighting I do with it, when it's all on the needles and it's all there and I have to keep turning it around, and you know, I find that so laborious, and it makes my shoulders ache more than if I'm just sat there knitting. Having said that, if I'm more comfortable and I'm knitting flat, for instance on the cardi, I will sit there longer, and then that makes me ache as well. So, you know, it's let's just say there are more than one way to crack a nut. Sure, that's not the saying. Anyway, those are my thoughts on top down or knitting unseamed without a seam, as opposed to sewing up. I don't think anybody's lazy. That was just, you know, when I was looking into it, and I didn't really understand the advantages and disadvantages of either way of method of construction. And of course you can get a bit of a hybrid as well, which is nice. So yeah, let me know what you think. What's your view? I mean, I think most of us are governed by what we see around us, how we're brought up and things. And I do like to celebrate the differences with our crafting, because if there weren't any differences, what would there be left to learn? Ooh, that's quite philosophical, isn't it, Anne, for a Friday afternoon? I've got one eye on the bird box here, because Tom said there's some grass sticking out the bottom, and he was in the garden the other day with Bertie, and there was a knocking. He thought somebody was using a hammer at the bottom of the garden, you know, over the fence type of thing. And it wasn't, it was a blue tick inside. Now, I don't know whether he was warning Tom, actually, when I think about it. But again, I say it every week, it's a bit early for them to be nesting. But I sat outside the front the other day chatting to somebody, and the sun on my face was hot. It was amazing. I did have a big thick jacket on though. Right, So that is seamed versus non-seamed. Now, if there's any aspect that you think I haven't covered, oh dear, we've got to 40 minutes, and I don't know whether the camera shut off or not. Sausages on toast. Doesn't seem to have started again. I'm going to start it again, because I might have to, okay, edit this. Sorry about that. I didn't notice I've been rabbiting for so long. I don't have much else to say, apart from thank you for everybody's messages, kind messages, questions, ideas for the cardigan. I've looked at them all, and I've been, I keep having to add things to my favourites now because people are making recommendations to me. I want to do a cow. I think that would be nice, but I want it to be over a long period of time, and I want it to be so as many people as possible. Inclusive is the word these days, isn't it? But I want it to, I don't want it to be like, let's make a cardigan, let's make a hat. I want it to be, let's knit over the summer. So I'm going to have a think about what we can do. And I'm thinking that when I come back next week, I will announce the cow, and it'll run from the 1st of April to the end of the year. These are my ideas. And then I'll put up a little prize every quarter, because we've already got, past the first quarter of the year then. It seems a nice round start to a cow. And it'll be a make-along, not a knit-along, because I want to be able to include anybody who wants to sew, knit, crochet. But I want it to be a minimum, there's got to be a minimum of effort involved. By that I mean, I don't want just a pair of socks or a hat. I'm thinking it either needs to be an adult garment or 300 grams or more, or, you know what I mean, or most of a blanket, etc, etc. So I'm going to have a think, because I don't want to exclude people, but then I want to try and make it sort of fair, so that if you're putting effort in, then, we, I know what I mean. Yeah, I'm going to have a think, and I'll get back to you about that. In the meantime, apologies again if my camera has stopped and started. I don't think it did, because it wouldn't have said, it would have started again, it would say 20 odd minutes, you see, instead of 40. So I think it's just carried on this time. I'm going to tell you what I've been doing. I have, my mum and dad came on Sunday to visit us briefly, obviously in the garden, to collect my mum's Mother's Day card. Cheeky of me, wasn't it? But I know she wanted to get the car out of the garage and have a little trip, an excuse to use it. And then on Monday, my nephew, he came down. He's on furlough. In fact, he's just finishing his furlough. He came down to visit us, and we sat in the garden because it was a lovely afternoon. I had my coat on, of course, and we had a chat for a couple of hours in the back garden, and that was nice. And then on Wednesday, I met Penny for a socially distant walk. Now, Penny, so I keep thinking I've said things to you, like I said before. Penny is the lady that I met via Ravelry. She was reading Ravelry one day and said to me that somebody had suggested, and there was a podcast or in a group that she'd read, why don't you contact somebody near to you locally? Because, sometimes people will put their locations into Ravelry. And she did, and she contacted me. And it's great, really, because I'd retired by that point, and I didn't have anybody to talk obsessively about knitting to. And we've been friends ever since. So we've been to a couple of yarn shows. We've been, she lives like 3 miles from me, is that? Where else? A couple of yarn shows. And we usually meet once a month, and we meet with Maggie as well, who lives even closer to me. Hello, Maggie. In fact, Maggie, you want to come and have a walk when we can, if you want. I must give you a shout, since you're so close. And until we're allowed to meet in person, in a pub or whatever. Yeah, so So yeah, Penny and I had a walk on Wednesday. Bertie's been to the vets today. I chatted to my school friends on Tuesday on Zoom. I chatted to my sister as well, my sister and partner on Saturday night. So yeah, I've done a lot of talking. I'm going to talk to Sal. Hello, Sal. On Friday, that was really lovely. That was ever so nice. And her dogs are gorgeous. Oh, she's got 4 dogs and they're lovely. Yeah. So anyway, so I've been doing a lot of talking basically this week. And yesterday I decided that I'd do a few things that have been on my to-do list for ages. Books over there that I'm using at the moment. I'm getting towards the end of it. And then I'll start using that lovely notepad that I had from the paper gang people as my to-do list. But I'd had update my journal, which I did yesterday, and update my knitting Bible. And by that, I just knitted some swatches of projects I've finished since I last updated my knitting Bible. And I'll show it you next time. I'll make a note to show you next time. What else did I say I was going to do next time? I'll have to listen to myself. And I'll show you what I do. So I was really pleased that I got that done. And I washed my makeup brushes. I washed the big ones. And I used a cleaner for the first time from Superdrug on the smaller ones. Because I'm not using them, you know. Not that I wash them that often anyway, but it's been on my list of things to do. So I was quite pleased. And today my jumper and my socks have been done. So getting through the ticks. And then I can add more ticks and more things to tick. I think I'm waffling now, so I'm going to go. I will speak to you soon. Yeah, you take care, look after yourself, stay safe, wear your mask when you have to, and you know, if you've actually had the vaccine, don't fear it. I didn't even know it had gone in my arm. I'll see you soon. Look after yourselves. Ta-da.